No, sorry, we don't need to talk about anything. We need to talk about the GAA catfish. Hello. Welcome back to the Pay Attention podcast. I am solo today, so I thought, why not whip out the podcasting equipment? We have the camera, we have the mic set up, we have everything going. Niamh is not here this week. She took herself on a little January holiday, but she will be back next week. So for this week, I am doing a solo. We're doing a solo because it's 2025. We had our Christmas break. We're back and determined to do some bits with the pod this year. So I just want to shout out everyone. Thank you so much for being a part of this podcast, listening, following us, subscribing on YouTube, sharing the podcast with your friends, doing whatever, being here every single week. There are hundreds of you every single week coming back to listen to us yap. So cheers to you. I have my Alani new energy drink. We have a Monster marinating in the fridge, don't worry. And today there is so much to talk about, I feel like, but you know, there's so much going on in pop culture. We have Justin Bieber unfollowing Hailey. We have, you know, Facebook allegedly buying TikTok, the whole ban of it all. That was what, 9 hours? Like, sorry, if you're gonna ban TikTok, even if it is for a PR stunt move, because let's be honest, we all know what that was. Now, obviously, I'm Irish and I'm living in the UK, so TikTok wasn't banned for me. But like, at least do it for like 24, 48, 72 hours. Like a 9-hour ban is crazy. Like, why even ban it at all? They did like totally update their servers, and TikTok is a totally different place now, and certain terms can't be searched in America. So yeah, it would be interesting to see where the world goes in the next few months. On to lighter topics. Molly May's documentary came out. I actually haven't watched it yet. No, sorry, we don't need to talk about anything. We need to talk about the GAA catfish. Now, this isn't me talking about the GAA catfish in a telling you information kind of way, because I'm going to be so completely honest. I have not listened to one single GAA catfish episode. I do not know the lore. I know that a girl from Ireland catfished a load of GAA players, and if you're in the States or you're not Irish, basically GAA is Irish football. It's an amateur sport. They're not paid, allegedly. So yeah, a girl catfished a load of GAA players, so sports guys. And I was like, oh my God, it would be so fun to do a deep dive for this week's episode on the GAA catfish and like give people spark notes, right? Because I don't know about you, but I can only listen, if I don't love a podcast, I can't listen to 3 hours. Like if I don't love a creator, or, you know, if I'm not a fan of something, investing 3+ hours of my time into a story about someone I don't know about is very hard for me, you know? If Trisha Paytas did a deep dive, I would listen. If Tana Mojo, if Teffy, if any of my favorite creators on the internet did a deep dive about the catfish, I would listen to it. But I'm not listening to 3+ hours of a podcast that I never really listened to. Do you know what I mean? So I had promised Niamh that I would listen to the first 10 minutes of their recent episode to kind of get caught up. I didn't. Niamh, I'm so sorry, but you're not here anyway, so I'll listen to it before we podcast next. I'll try. But I made a TikTok and I asked people for spark notes, because I was like, surely, like, just give me the breakdown. Like, I don't need, and I love a long-winded story. You all know nothing more than the fact that I love a long-winded story. But I was like, just give me the spark notes. And everyone was commenting and being like, no, like, you have to listen to the whole thing. Like, clean your house, listen to it. Like, go for a walk. I was like, no, you're not understanding. I don't want to listen to the whole thing. I just want the spark notes. But basically, a girl catfished a load of GA players is the gist of it. Now, obviously, there's insane stories about it. It gripped the whole of Ireland, and it's very funny to me. But it really does just show that if you chase a man, you're silly. If you're in a heterosexual, no, if you're straight, okay? If you're straight and you are a girl and you chase a man, you are so silly, because this girl cancelled like 27 dates on all of these guys, and they were still like for years. Like one of them, it was like 9 months or like a year. Like she had these guys wrapped around her finger because they couldn't get her. Okay? She didn't have them wrapped around her finger because she was like, oh my God, when can I see you? Because she didn't want to see them because she was a catfish, right? So it was in her best interest to not see these guys. And these guys loved it. They love a chase. I'm telling, especially in the start of a relationship, girls, don't chase him. I've said it before. I've said it again. I've given advice to friends. Like, I know there's the whole thing of people being like, if you wanted to, you would. It's so silly because there's so much nuance. But like, why do these men deserve nuance? Like, if you want to be, I don't want to be in a relationship with anyone that doesn't want to be in a relationship with me. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, if I have to do all the work and make that happen, I don't want it because like, I don't know. I just feel like when someone's into you, and if they're not actively pursuing you, and this is especially to my girlies in their younger 20s, because I feel like in your younger 20s you're like, no, I'm just going to take control of the situation, you know, feminism. And I get it, I am all for making the first move, but there is a difference between making the first move and making every single move on the chessboard and being available every single time, whenever, and rearranging your life to suit someone. Like being like, oh no, he texts me last minute, so I won't go out with my friends, or I won't do this, or I had planned a whole self-care evening, but now he's after texting me like last minute. You know, last minute plans are no plans in my life. So I think that's the biggest lesson we can all learn from the GAA catfish is don't be too available. Isn't that the moral of the story when you think about it? She had so many men wrapped around her catfish fingers. Why? Because she wasn't available. So that's my whole take on it as a girl who has listened to no information about it and just has, I haven't even watched like a few, I've just seen what other, sorry, my throat. I'm trying to make this a non-edit episode because I'm doing a solo last minute. So I just want to do the whole record, push, live is what we're trying to do. So yeah, basically what I'm saying is, that's what we can learn from the GAA catfish. And maybe we'll do a deep dive Spark Notes on it next week with Niamh, even though I feel like, you know, when these stories go viral and it takes over, it only has like a week news cycle. Like, is anyone going to care about the GAA catfish next week? I don't think so. I think it has even died down by now, and it's only Tuesday. So, you know. Anyways, what else is going on in the world? It's January, isn't it? It's still January. And I've said this in a recent vlog on my YouTube channel, but I, for many, 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 many years of my life, tried to undo the whole like Monday to Friday is like, ugh, and you're like looking forward to Wednesday, and then it's Thursday, and then you're like, ooh, the week's nearly over, and then it's Friday, and it's that Friday feeling, and so excited for the weekend, and then you wait all week for like 48 hours, and then on Sunday you're like, oh no, another week's coming. Like I really, really, really did throughout my 20s, throughout the whole decade of being 20, because I'm 30 now, I'm actually 31 in 3 months. It's my last quarter of my 30th year. No way. Sorry, I just realized that there. Either way, so I spent all of my 20s undoing that mindset because I didn't really like to subscribe to it. And, you know, I've worked 9 to 5 Monday to Friday. I've, you know, done that. And even when I was working 9 to 5 Monday to Friday, I was like, I don't want to just look forward to the weekends and not do anything exciting during the week and not go out for a dinner on a random Wednesday, or, you know, be like, oh no, I'll wait to do that to the weekend. Like it's a school night. You know, I really tried to unsubscribe from that life because I felt like it was wishing away your life. And I feel like by me saying, ugh, it's still January, it's wishing away January. Do you know what I mean? But it is very much so still January. And I do feel like, I feel like we didn't talk about this in our first episode of the year, but, in January, there's a lot of talk about 75 hard, about, our goals for the year, about, changing your entire life. And there's all this aspirational content. And it can make a lot of people feel very overwhelmed because there are a lot of people who compare themselves to people on the internet. So, you might have been scrolling throughout January and seeing like loads of people allegedly doing 75 hard, because what we know from the TikTok ban is a lot of people lie on the internet. Now, we already knew this, right? We already knew people lie, but the things people were admitting to before the TikTok ban, it was like this trend. If you're not on TikTok, I'm so sorry, you mightn't understand. But that's a you issue. But on TikTok there was this trend, and it was a quote from Family Guy. I think I got that right. And it was it was the dad in Family Guy, Peter. Neve would be so proud of me right now. And the quote was, it was a sound. So it was, since we're all going to die, there's something I need to tell you. So people were saying like, since TikTok is banned, there's something I need to tell you. And, some people's lore was very minimal. It was like, since TikTok's getting banned, I have to tell you something. And it was like a brief white lie that someone told, like, something like, oh, I always use the smoothing filter on my face, so my skin isn't actually good. But like, or I always use the Life Foundation filter. But, that's something you can see on TikTok. You can see if someone's using that filter, whatever. So there was like white lies like that, which is still not great. But then there was fitness girlies saying they actually had BBLs. There was people admitting to being on Ozempic or Mounjaro this whole time, and they just never shared it with their audience, which, like, I get, like, technically that is a health decision, so you don't actually have to share that. But if you make content around weight loss but omitted the fact, if you're like, oh, I used all these meals to lose weight, and you're like selling a weight loss plan but really used Ozempic, then you probably, and there was outrageous, people were saying they like didn't actually, they were filming their workouts. So a lot of people were saying, like, on days when they went to the gym and filmed their workouts in their makeup, they wouldn't actually work out that day. But everything's for content, and everything is an illusion. And I don't know how I got to this point. January, end of the year. It's January. It's coming up to the end of the year. I don't like the Monday to Friday. I'm trying to circle back, and I've lost where I was coming from. But basically, yes. So a lot of 75 hard. There we go. So a lot of people who might be posting their New Year's goals, New Year's resolutions, that they're doing 75 hard, might be lying to you. And people who post these aesthetic morning routines, they're filming them at 4 p.m. in the day. They're not waking up every day at 5 a.m. and doing a perfect morning routine. Like, do you know what I mean? We're in that era of social media now where I think it's like, okay, a lot of people do these things. It's like ads, it's content. It's supposed to be appealing. It's supposed to garner a reaction. And when you create content online, you realize what works. And then if you do something and it works and you get a lot of views or a lot of followers or whatever, you're going to try and emulate that as much as possible. So there's a creator I follow, and she does like dating diaries in New York. Her name's Oh You Pretty Things or something on TikTok. Love her. And she was dating this guy called JJ, and everyone loved JJ and everyone like really reacted well to JJ. So she kind of embellished the story a little bit, saying like she was falling for JJ and all, and everyone's like, no, he's not good for you, you can do better. And then her thing was, with the TikTok ban coming, is like, I actually like embellished the whole JJ thing. Like, I never fell for him. Like, I knew exactly who he was, but I did it because, all the videos would get so much engagement. So we all have to remember that a lot of what we see on social media, just because you can have it in your hand 24 hours a day, doesn't mean it's not for entertainment purposes. And if you are to make content that is entertaining and engaging, then, you know, you have to not lie, but you have to like be a version of yourself that is either elevated. Like with me, if I'm making a TikTok, like in my head I know, okay, I have to move the camera, I have to be making a gesture like when I start the video to as a visual hook, and then I have to say something outrageous, or I have to like put a clip from the middle of the video into the start, and like, you know, there's all these things that you have to think of. So I think when we think of January and, you know, everyone's getting their life together and everyone's doing such exciting things and everyone has these big goals for the year and everyone is starting the year with 75 hard and all these new habits, and they're all drinking water and they're all walking outside for 2 hours a day and they're all making 10k more in their business this year if they're self-employed, and everyone's doing this and I'm not. That is a self-sabotaging mindset. And basically what that is you're viewing everything as it is and not like applying nuance to anything, like not thinking, what if all these people actually aren't doing this thing? And I think you just have to kind of take a step back and be like, okay, but what about me in my life? Like what are my intentions? Because you can get so wrapped up in like all these beautiful people on the internet with these seemingly perfect lives and their perfect January. And realistically, January is still the middle of winter. It is winter time. The animals are hibernating. Winter time, astrologically and historically, is not the time. You know, it's not spring yet. The baby animals aren't being born. The flowers aren't coming up. It's not the time for new beginnings. If you look at the world around you and the environment, it's okay to feel a bit like, meh, I don't know, or a bit more tired, or that you need more rest, especially if you're a woman. We need more sleep. And we need extra sleep coming up to our cycles and on our cycles. And then also with winter, like we're so much more in tune with the universe than men are. Just like biologically, like we go with the moon. We also had a standstill full moon for 4 days last week that nearly took me out. I'm not even joking. I still have 27 unread notifications. If you are any of my close friends right now and you have texted me and I haven't responded, I am so sorry. Like I genuinely, do you know what I was doing yesterday? I was looking at my phone and I was like, I want to just wipe this whole thing. I want to start at the hello screen when on a brand new iPhone. I want to upload all my pictures and videos onto my iCloud. I want to like get rid of all my contacts. I was being so, I don't know, does anyone else relate to this? I was being so like, I just want a clean slate. I don't want any apps. I don't want any notifications. I don't want any emails. I don't know why I did this. I have like 9 email addresses. Who needs 9 email addresses? I don't even send emails. Responding to an email for me is horrendous. And I have so many email addresses that I either set up to like get a free trial on something, or, you know, for one of the 742 business ideas that I had. And there's just, I'll check how many emails are in my inbox right now. It's genuinely, okay, right. So when I'm looking at my screen right now, I'm seeing 140 notifications in my social media little folder, 14,928 in my email inbox. And I don't even think that's all my emails. That's a lot of my emails, actually. 14,928. Then we have 6 shipping notifications. I have 10 like random travel productivity notifications, 4 LinkedIn notifications. Like there's just too much. I look at my phone and I'm like, ugh. So either I need a work phone, either I need 2 phones, or I need to like wipe this one. But then it's like the effort of wiping the phone. But that's the vibe I'm on in January. I'm like, I just need to like cleanse my energy. I need to rest. I need to relax. And I think especially if you're more of an intuitive person, which I am. Listen, I'm a self-proclaimed witch. You know what I mean? I'm an astrology girly. I love crystals. I love everything energy in the universe and the moon. And that's just who I am, amongst many other things. And when you're that intuitive, and then if you're on the more creative side of life, if like you just need periods of rest and relaxation, and like not even relaxation, it's more like a quiet period for that inspiration to come, you know, that inspiration, that creativity, that, oh my God, I have a new idea, I'm going to work on this thing, or I have a new project, or this is a new way I'm going to decide to make money. And, you know, I know to some people that will sound like a foreign concept, but it all depends where you are in life. And that's the thing. No two people are going to have the same experiences on a day to day. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're not going to be in the same place motivationally as your best friend. So your best friend might have gone through the last 3 months in her like quiet period, or her down period, or her like kind of like, oh, I don't know what I want to do period. And now she's like raring to go, and she's like, I'm going to get this done, and I've started a new gym, and I'm doing Pilates classes, and I'm taking up these new hobbies, and I'm learning how to paint, and I'm planning all these trips. And you're listening to her and you're like, oh my God, that's amazing. But in your head you might be like, oh my God, why can't I do all of that? But then like 3 months ago you might have been in that energy. And I think it's so important for us to realize like we're not in the same energies all the time. And that's fine. And when you're watching people online and you're kind of like, oh, they're all having such a great time, and you're comparing, it's just not great. It's just not great. And January's fine. It's fine to have not thought about 2025 and what you want to achieve, or who you want to be, or, you know, maybe you did it all. Maybe you did the vision board, and you did the whole like, this is who I'm going to be this year of it all, like the first week of January or the last week of December, and you were so excited, and then you haven't really done much of that and you feel awful. And instead of feeling awful, why don't you be like, okay, I haven't done it, but I can do it now, you know? Or what I've been trying to do recently is make decisions for my future self, which sounds the way it sounds, but it works. It's so annoying. Because say when you're going to bed and you don't want to take off your makeup, and I think about my future self in those moments, and I'm like, which would the tomorrow morning version of me, would I prefer, oh my God, 22 on the screen just as I was saying that, anyway, would I prefer to wake up in the morning with last night's makeup still on, my face feeling a little like and crusty, and, you know, just, and then you start your day like that? Or would I prefer to wake up tomorrow with like my skin fresh and moisturized, having taken off my makeup the night before? And the answer is obvious. I would prefer to wake up with my skin feeling fresh. So then in that moment when I don't want to take off my makeup, I'm like, okay, but if I do it now, I'll feel better in the morning, and tomorrow will start off better. Whereas if I don't do it now, then I'm dragging the energy of not wanting to do it now into tomorrow, you know, and then it starts your day off. So that's just a little way. But I try to, when I think about it, ask myself that question. If there's something where I'm like, oh, I really don't want to do this now. Like I don't. And sometimes it's like, I don't want to do it, and my future self won't care that much. You know, she wants me to rest right now. She wants me to take that nap. She wants me to cancel that social event that I said I would go to. She wants me to do all these things. But other times you'd be like, no, your future self really wants to do that thing. You're just trying to self-sabotage right now. So there's a difference, and you should learn it. And the only way you learn it is by like checking in with yourself and being like, just going off, like asking yourself the question, being like, would my future self feel better if I did this? And the first thing that comes to your head, either yes or no, that's your answer. Like, you don't have to think about it too much. I feel like today's episode of the Pay Attention podcast is giving like a hot girl guide energy of my other podcast, which I have been wanting to bring back. But I haven't brought it back yet because I'm waiting for that divine intervention creativity to come upon me, which actually feels like it's coming out right now. So this is kind of proof that, you know, maybe if I just sat down with my camera and my mic, then it would like all, because I have nothing, you know this, pay attention listeners, we do not script or plan this podcast. I sit down with the mic and open my mouth and hope for the best. And today it seems to be, I hope someone is getting something from this. What else is going on is the question. I don't think there's much else. You know what? I think that's today's episode because it's a solo. I like the longer episodes to be where me and Niamh can yap. So I hope you enjoyed this episode and I'm looking forward to me and Niamh being back. Don't forget, if you don't follow us on Spotify or YouTube, wherever you're listening, please do, and leave a comment or engage with us in some way. We would love that. And thank you so much for listening. Niamh will be back next week and we will be the dynamic duo again. Goodbye. Happy January. Next week's the end of January and then it's February. And that is the circle of life. And I have 3 months left of being 30. And then I'm 31. That's a big realization to have. Okay, goodbye.